In this video I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the features that are included in the next major release of Microthema. This one focuses on some new CSS properties, so we've got filter property here and the transform property there, and also the interactions for working with the style properties. So for instance we can change the font size using this slider now. So this slider area and some plus and minus buttons and a little option for changing the unit allows us to kind of tweak the values of our CSS properties a bit more sort of smoothly and doing smaller adjustments, like we can tweak down like that. And this basically replaces what used to be, this used to be a clear option at the top of these menus, and now instead we've got an X. It doesn't take up any more space, but it's kind of it provides a nice way to adjust things. We can make this really big. And so what you've got with this slider is a system where you drag to the left, so you kind of increase them. So this would be 6M. I'm working with M's here. You can work with any unit. Microthema now supports all of these units, and you can switch between them completely interchangeably. So that's 124 pixels, and then we can go up to 140, and then we can go to rems, and it all stays the same, consistent. The nice thing about this slider is that you just need to grab it anywhere in this bit here, and then you can drag as far as the left edge of the screen, or like to make it bigger, or as far as the right edge of the screen. I've just gone to 0 there. And if you did occasionally, you might run out of screen space, you can always just grab it again and drag. So it kind of overcomes some of the problems you get traditionally with sliders, where you sometimes hit the min or max value and then you have to switch to just typing manually or some other option. So the other thing is that you've just got some buttons, because occasionally you just want to really finely tweak the size of things. And there's a keyboard shortcut as well. So if you hold Shift and push X, hold Shift while I click one of the buttons, then you'll see that it jumps up in much quicker increments. So that's when you want, that's useful if you want to sort of move things a bit faster. And actually, if you click and hold the buttons, then Microthema will just smoothly continue to decrease or increase depending on which button you're pressing and holding. And so obviously you can use this in combination with Shift to move fast or slow. So that's another introduction. Oh yeah, and finally, and I think this one's actually really useful, is we've got the mouse wheel. So here I'm just hovering over this input, I'm not actually triggering the slider, and I'm just pushing down on the mouse wheel. And again, if I hold Shift, I can move things a lot faster. So the combination of using Shift with the mouse wheel for me is actually really nice, because you don't even have to like click in to see the slider options. You've still got the normal suggestions that Microthema provides, so which you can clear here, or you can load new suggestions, and it will remember, so if I go to say 12.4 rem, then when I next come back to this menu, we'll have 12.4 rem in the menu, so it kind of keeps track. So when you're, say, customizing your headings, let's say, and you decided on a particular size for H1s, then you can easily go back and just get the exact same consistency sizing using the options here. Is there another one? Okay, so we've done mouse wheel. Oh yeah, and so mouse wheel over the kind of non-numeric fields like font weight will just cycle through the options without us needing to reveal the menu. So we can like cycle through all the like system fonts, for instance, or what have you, or do text alignment really easily with just hovering over this. And so we've got and then we'll use the X as well. As it's a bit quicker than using the drop down that we have before, where you had one click on the drop down and one click there. Finally, if you're in the input field, you can use just the keyboard arrows. I'm just going to remove this. I'm not actually using the mouse wheel here, so I'm just using the up arrow there to go up, or the down arrow here. And again, you can press and hold, and you can use Shift to move things really quick, or move things down really quick. So that's the kind of the new UI interactions, which for these properties, which I think will save a lot of time and just make it easier to do those kind of little adjustments to tweaking the design, so you can be perfecting things more easily. Yeah, and so before it used to be, we used to have this management system, which we still have actually, for the units, because you might want to say, if you prefer to work with rems, the default when you first install Microtheme is just that all of the length value properties are in pixels. And that's easy for beginners, I think, but as you learn a bit more, I think it's probably best to use rems. The reason being that rems, the rem unit basically means that whatever font size has been attached to the root element, which is the HTML element that contains everything, everything will be in, so 12.6 rem is in relation to whatever the size that's been set on the HTML element, and so everything moves relative to that font size. So you can adjust your design, say for tablet and phone, and then again for mobile, just by going to this tab and setting a new font size, like a lower font size on the HTML element for a smaller screen, and then everything just shrinks, and you get that for free without having to do like lots of manual tweaks responsively. So that's why rems are really nice. They're a bit harder for beginners to get their head around normally, because it's easy to think in terms of pixels. You have these kind of decimal point values. I might actually, I haven't added it yet, but I might actually show the pixel unit in brackets to the right here, because Microtheme reports pixel units whenever it reports like the computed value of something. That's just because that's what the browser returns. It always condenses everything down to pixel units basically, and it can return that information very quickly, and so Microtheme shows it here. And I might just add it here as well so that it's easy to see the connection. I'm on 84 pixels, and that happens to be like about 8-ish rem. But I think if you're making the transition from being a beginner that only works in pixels and then you want to move into rems because you know it's best practice, it might be nice to have that. So another iteration of the beta that will come out sort of next week will probably have that. So this is where you can still control your units if you like. You can, when you first install Microtheme, go through, you might not want to put everything rem, you might want to put some as percentage, like for width and height and stuff like that. This is a nice central place to manage everything, but you can still, when you're working individually in the properties, you can still, right now I've got 8.5 rem, but I could say like, I don't know, 10%. Oh, that's tiny. Let's say 50%. Let's just do 90%, so we can still see it. So what that does is, because I typed percent, it just updated the unit up here, and it stripped it out from the field, because that's what this beta does now. It strips out the units. And it's basically entering a unit manually is just the same as me like switching unit here. It's convenient for it to work like that sometimes. I think that's everything I need to mention about just the general update that applying to all of these length fields, where you can now use sliders, mouse wheels, keyboard events, etc. The other thing, the other main update really is just the introduction of these, just clear that, the introduction of, say, filters. So if I just give this a background color, and then, let's just give it a bit lighter so we can see against the font. Oops. And so yeah, okay, we got a whole load of CSS filters which are new. You could always enter these before, but you have to enter them via the code editor. So now we've got some UI support. So for instance, we can blur, and I'm just using that new mouse wheel thing here to just slightly increase the blur, or make it sepia. We'll use this for that. And I won't go through all of these. You can, to get the documentation, you can, like with every property in Microtheme, you can just click on here and it'll bring up some information about that. So you can have some fun playing with contrast, brightness, all that sort of stuff, and then transform options as well. So, let's start with the general ones actually. So you're actually less likely to use these properties, but their kind of perspective origin is useful, for instance, when you've got, say, lots of child elements like in a grid and you want them all to follow the same like perspective that you've defined for the parent. But in general, you'll just want to, say, move things around. So with translate X and Y, I can move things to the right, and again, if I hold Shift, I can move things a bit faster. I'm just using the mouse wheel here, or up and down, etc. Just clear those, and then rotate. So rotate Z is actually like what's the most familiar kind of rotate, where it just spins on its axis like that. And we've also got rotate Y, so you can see from the icon that sort of spins it around that way. And then skew is very similar to rotate, so I'm not going to view that. And then scale. Oh yeah, so scale, you can move things to the left or the right, and we can also link them together because you sometimes want to move things proportionally. Yeah, so I think that covers everything for now. Yeah, have a play and let me know what you think. Cheers, bye.